To find success for them so far this season. Of course, they're through to knockout stage of the Champions League, fifth at the moment in the Prem, out of the Carabao Cup in the fourth round. It's been a strange old season for Spurs. I seem to remember us talking just a few months ago, Craig, that they were the biggest competitors to City. That, of course, faded out. They impressed by beating Real Madrid and Dortmund in the Champions League. But there is a certain feeling, isn't there, that this could be another kind of mediocre season for Spurs.
Well, I mean, if they could knock Juventus out and get to the quarter-finals, I mean, that would be some scalp. Let's be honest. But there has been, and some of the players have mentioned it. I think Harry Kane was quoted 3 or 4 months ago saying we have to start winning things. So I think Pochettino, the coach, is acutely aware that they have got to start being in the hunt for FA Cups and stuff. They're not at the level of winning the Champions League. They've got a fair bit to go in that sense, and they're not guaranteed to get in the top 4. So I think it is about winning trophies for them. But then again, in this day and age, getting in the top 4 seems to be the trophy that everybody wants.
So what's success? Top 4 and Spurs have had a good season?
I think then if you're just top 4 and you don't win a trophy, then you have to add in the other parts. I think Craig's exactly right. Juventus would be a nice victory to take away. But I almost look at this, the way they've continued to add quality to the team with experience, that they're looking that they should be at least in the semifinals of the Champions League. I know that's
wow.
up there for them, but I assume that they've got to be looking that way. They've shown they can beat good teams. They've shown that they can have some big results. They just need to be more consistent. And quite honestly, a trophy would be very helpful for that.
They finished second last year in the league, didn't they? That's right.
So they've dropped off.
So
they've got worse.
So say they clamber in 4th and don't win the FA Cup and are unlikely to win the Champions League, then it's been a poorer season for them. That's the big pressure that I think Pochettino's under. But he doesn't seem to be under it from the fans. The fans seem quite happy with what
I suppose the fans would argue when you take a look at the money that City and United have spent, that it's impossible for them to compete, isn't it?
I don't think Pochettino can get away with that one anymore. He's been there long enough, and he's had enough pats on the back, enough praise that his team should be winning something.
But it's a valid argument, isn't it? Lowest wages of the top 6. Your boys just went and spent goodness knows how much on Van Dijk. Spurs don't do that. They don't have the resources to do that.
Let's not bother playing the games then. So the one that's got the most money, then that's fine. No, Pochettino has been hailed for the last 2 seasons as this up-and-coming coach that can go right to the top. Well, he's got no silverware. His team this season has been the most inconsistent they've been for the last 3 seasons. And the fact that they topped Real Madrid in their group, they have to get to the quarter-final stages, and they must get in the top 4. If they don't get in the top 4, this season has been wasted.
And if they want to hold on to players, Dan, because we know the Harry Kanes of this world are not... I mean, he should be on top dollar. Absolutely top dollar, but he's not. Yeah. Because as you mentioned, they've got a wage structure that they kind of adhere to a certain extent. But if they don't make the top 4, and it's still a big if because they're clearly in the hunt, then they've no Champions League football next year. They're going to be moving to this new stadium, which they're pushing as that's going to make them be able to keep up with the Joneses. But we've seen what happened to Arsenal when all this promises from Arsenal. We're moving to the new stadium and going to be able to spend like Real Madrid and Barca and all this. It hasn't happened. So there's no guarantee it's going to happen.
Real Madrid are in search of a new striker. According to the media, we had Harry Kane on the front page last month, Lewandowski on the front page of Marca this week. So we asked you, who would you prefer at Real Madrid, Lewandowski or Kane? Who is better? Lewandowski coming in at 55%, Kane 45%. Let's go to the striker on the panel, shall we? Mr. McBride, who are you picking?
If that's the question, who's better?
Yes.
I think Lewandowski is the more complete player.
Definitely.
Why? I just think that he's more polished. I think Harry Kane can do an incredible job of all these different things. The one thing that I think, looking at if we're talking about Real Madrid going after a player, Harry Kane gives you more pace up front. And that more pace, the quicker style, allows them to spread the game out a little bit more. You've seen Cristiano Ronaldo drop off in his pace. He's not running past people like he used to. And I think the addition of that pace that Kane can provide might be a better fit for Real Madrid.
So Lewandowski's better, but Real Madrid should get Kane.
Listen, Kane's no slouch. I mean, I think any team would be happy to have him. He can score goals in every single different way. He's got...
Did you answer my question?
What's that? Well, I told you already. Yes.
Lewandowski's better, but Madrid should get Kane.
Yes.
If I wanted somebody for next season, I would get Lewandowski.
Right, he's better than Kane.
Lewandowski. I think, as Brian said, he's more polished, he's more experienced, he's done it at the higher level. I think Kane can get to that level, but he hasn't done it at the highest level on a regular basis yet. Long-term, Kane. Short-term, Lewandowski.
100% agree with Craig. Lewandowski's going to be 30 this year.
And Brian. Brian said the same.
And Brian, beg your pardon. But I'll tell you what, there's one thing that Kane does that Lewandowski doesn't, and that scores goals from outside the box. So if Real Madrid are looking for a guy that absolutely does everything, then Kane's your man.
Luis Enrique, according to Sport, the Catalan newspaper, is the manager that Chelsea want. However, there's a disagreement about how much pay Antonio Conte would get if indeed he did leave. Who would you prefer? Is Luis Enrique a massive upgrade on Conte?
No. I mean, it's a real difficult one because I think he struggled at Roma.
Yeah.
He goes into Barcelona. He had his problems there. Remember, we were talking about a few years ago that he was potentially going to get sacked in December, and Messi was on the bench, and he'd gone back to play for Argentina, and things weren't great. But he turned that around in terms of his man management, and then the rest is history. But this is a coach who was working with Neymar, Messi, and Luis Suarez. Now, they're going to make a lot of people look like good coaches. So it's a difficult one to gauge. All I would say, he's only got to be happy and not complain, and then he's already a step up from Antonio Conte at the moment.
Yeah, to me, I look at this situation, and I don't think this is an X's and O's situation. I think this is a man management side of situation.
Right.
We all understand that Italian coaches, most Italian coaches, demand more out of you as a player in practice. Your practices are longer. You practice twice a day sometimes. And English players and English clubs aren't necessarily used to that. So I think that you're running into a very intense situation with added practice, and players are unhappy. If Luis Enrique does come in, he's going to have the job of just getting those players happy again. And if he can, there is enough talent there to get some good results and climb back up the table.
I think that's the point. I mean, we talked a lot about Conte yesterday, but there's good players at Chelsea.
Yeah.
I mean,
they won the league last year.
Big names.
He didn't get Chiellini, who he wanted in the summer. He got Rudiger. He's a German international, right? Now, he might not be everybody's favourite, but he's an international footballer. He got back... OK, Bakayoko's had a bad time since he came in. It was unexpected because he was a really good player for Monaco. But he's still got good players, and it just seems, as Brian said, this seems to be a man management issue at the moment, and getting the best out of what he's got, rather than he hasn't actually got the tools, because he has.
Mauricio Pochettino was asked about the problem of diving in football. An interesting quote from the Spurs coach saying 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was like, oh, congratulate the player when he tricks the referee in Argentina, but in England too. You believe that in England you were honest and always perfect. That is the football that I was in love with when I was a child. Football is about trying to trick your opponent. Yes or no? Let's start off with the first part of that quote. That's the eldest gentleman on this.
He doesn't know what he's talking about. He absolutely has no clue what he's talking about. Under no circumstances is that how it was played at all. There was a handful of individuals who would try and do that, but to try and tell every single person is complete and utter garbage, and you don't know what you're talking about. If that's how you did it when you grew up, that's fine. But he is talking through you know where if he thinks that's what it was like for everybody. Well, because it was not.
It wasn't.
Excuse me, Craig. I'll tell you, a perfect example is a guy called Ronnie Rosenthal that joined us in 1990. And but for his goals, we wouldn't have won the league that year.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, the first game he played, you've never seen anybody diving so much in your life. And every one of us, to a man, were round him going, what are you doing? Pack it in. So Pochettino does not know what he's talking about when he's trying to label players from my era that were doing that, because it's just not happening.
Now, it has crept in to the British game, and it has crept into the British players as well. There's absolutely not a shadow of a doubt about it. But back in the day, Stevie's right. 100% right. You might have had the odd occasion, very odd, but not every week by multiple players. The other side of the coin is, and it is a cultural thing. We only got to talk to your colleague, Ali Moreno, about it. In certain parts of the world, they see things differently. And that, for them, is OK. the way they do it. But for us, and back in the day, and Stevie was before me, it wasn't okay. It's a cultural difference in how they define cheating or tricking.
I just love the fact that he was saying I was after Stevie.
Well, I just wanted to clear that up. It's not clear enough.
No, I agree. And the part that I don't get, and you're exactly right, it's the cultural side. And Stevie's I lived it. But when I first went over to England, there was still a lot of players in the game that were still around. And Craig, was just finishing up, and that was still active. I mean, there was still times when you knew when the kickoff came, a center back would know he gets one shot at a defender. He'll make him feel it, and he'll know it from the get-go, and it sort of sets the tone of the game.
But why is there such a stigma around diving? Like, we talked about this before. Doucouré handles the ball and it goes in the back of the net. Watford get a 2-2 draw against Southampton. Not really a big fuss is made about it. Yeah, he got away with it. It's kind of how we look at it. But when it comes to diving, people seem to be up in arms more. But surely handling the ball is worse.
It's a culture. It's a strange thing. People. It's like spitting. I'll turn around and tell you, I would rather somebody came up to me and punched me straight in the face or rattled me across the knees with a free kick than spitting at me. So try and explain that. There are certain things that in the culture that I grew up in and Craig grew up in that certain things were acceptable and certain things weren't. And it's all handed down.
I think that comes to respect. And I disagree with you on the handball situation. You'd go back to Thierry Henry. I guarantee you the Irish are still not happy with it.
No, but of course it's a massive thing. But for example, Iron Robin, Mexico, Holland, people still talk about that extensively as well, don't they? So I think it all depends on the manner of the match and the intensity. But there seems to be an acceptance. You handle the ball in, you get away with it, well done. You dive, that's kind of against the ethics of the game.
I think there's more diving than there is handballs. You get upset about it, but the diving aspect of it is done with forethought more than the handball is. Sometimes it's just like a reaction and you get away with it. Not to say that's right, because it isn't. What I'm trying to say is that there's more diving than there are intentional handballs. Intentional handballs get seen a lot more than they do the diving aspect of it. And I think from the people that have been around soccer for so long, the diving has changed games in different cultures. You're talking about culture in England not having it, and now it has it. Those things that some people don't want to see, and it gets them infuriated.
But if you play international football, this is if you play a country, if you play Germany or a Scandinavian country, you're having a different chat before the game about how these players may react. If you go to a World Cup or you play a qualifier or whatever, as a friendly, you're playing a team from South America, you're having a different conversation about how far you can push the barrier in terms of contact, because player X from this part of the world is unlikely to go to ground or dive, call it what we want. Player Y from this part of the world and their culture is going to go to ground in a heartbeat. And that's just the difference.
And it's the same with the referees. When you see what referee it is in an international game, you're thinking the same thing. How much can you get away with?
Welcome then to Extra Time. How you doing, Brian? How was your journey on the snow, ice?
A little detour.
Where did you have to go via?
Instead of direct flight got cancelled, so I had to go through Charlotte.
How was that?
It was actually quite nice. The into Charlotte wasn't. And then I thought into here was probably going to be worse, but it wasn't. It was good.
Did you buy that jacket when you were in transit?
I saved this just for you.
Top man.
It's an impressive jacket. It's
I wish I could wear that.
I noticed
you could wear it.
He was impressed by your shirt.
New shirt, I felt.
Aye.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Yeah, it's a new shirt.
Thanks.
Yeah, there we go. Good. And the golden pocket square today.
Aye.
I'm trying to work out if that shirt's was white, and it's now just kind of gone off yellow. Or
well, they put it in with colours, didn't they?
I can say that's the right colour just because the stitching looks around the buttons, it looks that colour.
Oh, Brian, what an eye for detail you have.
I'm here to help.
Does the offside rule need to be changed after the Lovren Kane debacle?
Well, yeah, but they should let people that have got half an idea of how it is on the field of play when they change the rules, because the people that changed it the last time clearly had no idea what happened.
Made of ex-players, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't that Xhaka on that one?
Isn't Xhaka involved? Marco van Basten?
I refuse to believe The people that make the final decision have played the game. Otherwise, the rules would not be the way they are right now.
What do you think? What did you make of it all, Brian?
I thought it was pretty crazy. I could see why the ref allowed it to go on, and then, of course, you get the penalty incident that probably was more of a dive than any contact. But regarding the way the rules are set up, laws. I apologize. You're exactly right. I've had that discussion before. It's not a rule book. It's a law book.
Quite like Brian.
Listen, I think those things need to be hashed out, and then whoever comes up with the rules, you got to play by them.
So now, has it got a lining as well, Barry?
No, this one's unlined because it's nice for.
For what?
For what?
When it's hot. When it's hot. When it's hot. When it's hot outside.
Selling watches.
That's for keeping my gun in there.
Got a nice little watch here with your Rolex.
It keeps you cooler than you normally are in a jacket.
You okay today?
Me?
Yeah. Somebody suggested you
Somebody suggested I was a bit off yesterday.
You had a tweet saying you're off. Do you want to share?
Well, a couple of fellas have been tweeting us saying that we should be more serious on this part of the show.
Right, I see. Yeah.
And then with some other guys telling us, don't listen to them, just be yourself.
Right.
And then I had a guy tweeting me this morning going, you definitely weren't yourself yesterday.
Oh.
You really need to be yourself. So I've no idea what I'm today.
Well, there you go. Do you know,
I'll let you know.
do you know, Brian, me and Craig were at the gym together today.
I heard this.
Stevie, are you going to make it? Are you going to join us?
No, we weren't at the gym together.
Well, we were there at the same time.
Yeah, well, you walked in.
And what were you doing?
Have a little run.
Yeah. He was running, I was running. I tell you what,
Hey, waits for him, right?
the first time I saw him today, he was running. The first time he saw me today, I was running. And the first time I saw you today, you were in the cafe ordering a cheeseburger.
I can't argue with that.
He walked out the cafe and he says, do they do cheeseburgers here? I'll let you in there.
Well, I was in early because of the snow and I was bored. So I thought I'd have a cheeseburger.
Does Steve Nicol miss Sacco?
Who?
Sacco.
Who's he?
He used to play for you, didn't he?
Oh, did he?
They went to Palace.
He didn't really play that much, did he?
Do you miss him?
No.
If Chelsea lose to West Brom in a similar fashion as they did to Watford and Bournemouth, will Conte be sacked regardless of whether a replacement is lined up?
Oh.
You okay?
That's you being yourself, I take it.
That's me. I'm back to myself.
Yeah, that's it. Normal service is resumed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he will.
Does Steve ever miss being in charge at New England?
Not at all.
Do you not miss the day-to-day,
No.
the bond, the getting out the house?
He's in there with Bill Belichick when he's doing the pats, and it's like...
I've said this before. Stevie was always playing against Stevie. Normally the coach is very quiet and doesn't talk to you, grumpy. Even though like some of them I know him, and played with him. Stevie was never that way. He'd walk out of the locker room and put an arm around me and say like, "So we're gonna, he'll give it to us, but he'll have fun with it."
Hey, this
He'd start with the banter right away.
About modern footballers talking to the opposition.
Oh no, but it wasn't positive stuff.
It wasn't positive.
It wasn't positive stuff.
Oh no.
No.
But it was said with a smile.
He'd be, I hope you wear your shin guards. Did you double them up? Something like that would come out.
Smiling,
Smiling,
sassy.
yeah.
That's the way it is.
I don't miss a Saturday night after getting beat, I'll tell you that.
ESPN FC returns tomorrow. We'll be talking Valencia, Barcelona. Craig, your day off.
Correct. Can't go to the gym. What am I going to do?
We'll find something.
Well, Manchester United are unlikely to win the Premier League this season, Stevie Nicol, but Ryan Giggs thinks they can win it next season. Do you agree?
There's a possibility. I think some things would have to change. I think definitely the position that he plays Pogba, I think the responsibility he has defensively hurts Manchester United going forward. I also think they need a proper centre-forward to win the Premier League. Lukaku does score goals against the weaker sides. You need a guy who scores against the best. And I don't think Lukaku does that.
Let's take a look at how they've got on over the last few seasons. They've not won the title since 2013. Could you argue they have underachieved with the resources they have?
I think there's no question they've underachieved. The fact that they're in the Champions League because they had to win the Europa League tells you that, well, it tells you consistency is just not there. You could argue that they haven't been as consistent this year either, but the fact is they've been getting results. To win the Premier League, I believe that, number one, you have to be consistent, but you have to be consistent at a higher level than United have been.
Just finally, this season's league table right now, there's not much between what they've conceded, City and United. United have conceded one fewer, but they've scored 23 goals less than City. You spoke about Lukaku. Does he need to change the system? Does he need to bring support in for Lukaku? What does he need to do so that City and United next season are level or about level on goals scored?
He needs to get a proper centre forward, and he needs to make sure that De Gea stays in goal. They've been good defensively, and in my opinion, largely down to De Gea.
Okay, so they may not win the league this season, but Giggs and Stevie Nicol says they could win it next season, but work still needs to be done. So Thibaut Courtois' contract is up next summer. How important is it that Chelsea can get this deal done quickly and get him tied down?
I think it's huge. You know, he quietly in the last couple of seasons has been better than I think people have given him credit for. And there's no question, a fit Thibaut Courtois, he can be in goals for Chelsea for the next decade. So how important? It's absolutely crucial, particularly the way things are right now. There is nothing, you talk about speculation, that's all we're getting right now from Chelsea is speculation.
Yeah, whether it's manager or whoever. I mean, there's a lot of speculation about this. There's a lot of talk as well about Thibaut Courtois' future. Let's give you some quotes. First of all, I'm happy here, I will extend, and the desire to also tie down Eden Hazard reassures him as well. It doesn't really matter who the manager is, it's just get your best players signed for long term so you avoid a kind of Ozil and Sanchez type scenario that Arsenal had.
Well, the cynics would say the fact that he's saying, I'm very happy and I'd love to stay, means I want away, quick, get me out of here. So, you know, the bottom line is they need to get this guy sat down and put pen to paper and get him tied down. You know, arguably he's the top 5 goalkeepers in the world. So why are you hanging around waiting to sign a guy who's that good?
The other thing is as well, they had him on loan at Atleti, knowing fine well that he would come back, and knowing fine well he was their goalkeeping choice of the future.
Well, it was a good move.
Yeah.
You know, they had Petr Cech, who himself at the time was one of the best keepers in the world. And what smarter move is there than to have a young goalkeeper out playing at the level that Atleti were? Smart move from Chelsea, and the smart move right now, get him tied up.
I think this is a case of when, not if, Thibaut Courtois signs a new deal with Chelsea. Just remember, don't read the headlines, read the article. That tells you the story. And if there's quotes, even better. Today's transfer rater starts at Old Trafford, Stevie Nicol. David De Gea's future to leave Man United?
Is that Manchester United?
Yeah.
Listen, United under Mourinho have made it pretty clear that they're all about how do we win the Premier League and how can we even get and win the Champions League. And that is not going to happen if you're letting your best players go or your best player. So, for me, not a chance.
How badly do Liverpool need a goalkeeper?
Absolutely huge. They need a goalkeeper. And I think this is a guy that they probably could get. You know, Roma, as we know, if the price is right, then you can have him. He's as good as anybody around right now. He's a great age, what, 24, 25. Again, if Liverpool get him, you're talking about him in goals for a decade. So I think there's a good chance this happens. I'm going to say it's going to be a hit.
By the way, he's keeping the Manchester City goalkeeper out of the Brazilian national team. He's a decent keeper. You said to me when you first saw this, I thought he'd retired. Justin Kluivert. This is a teenager who's got...
Kluivert or Kluivert?
Oh, don't you give me the whole English pronunciation.
Upset. Look at his face.
Hey, don't diss the commentator's pronunciation.
Listen, regardless of what you want to call him,
Justin,
he's not going to Man United if he's got any brains.
Why?
Because he's not going to get a game under Mourinho, is he? Listen, Kluivert needs to go and play somewhere. Certainly.
Why not just stay where he is at Ajax then?
Well, he's not going to get any better where he is right now. And if he wants to reach the top, he has to get on the ladder.
Okay.
And that ladder doesn't mean going straight to Manchester United because there'll be some rungs missing. He won't get a game. You've already got Rashford there who's struggling to get a game. Yeah. If I'm Kluivert and I'm looking at Martial as well, how am I going to get a game? So, listen, if he's got any brains, Kluivert doesn't go. I'm not saying he's not a great plaer.
It doesn't say when.
So.
Maybe in a few years.
Right.
Kylian Mbappe to Real Madrid. What do you make of that?
Nonsense. Where did you get that from?
Don't look at me. I thought you were going to pick me up on the pronunciation.
Really? That's almost as bad as people saying Neymar's going to go to Real Madrid. I mean, come on.
You're not having it, are you?
I'm not having it at all.
Suarez to Chelsea.
Again, I don't see how it makes any sense for either Barcelona or Suarez. Suarez is at a team who are going to win La Liga and who are one of the favourites to win the Champions League. Why are you going to leave Chelsea and go to a team who are not favourites to win their own league and certainly are nowhere near favourites to win the Champions League as well? So it doesn't make any sense.
How's my pronunciation?
Not quite as bad as the one before, but...
That annoyed you, didn't it, Mbappe?
Well, it's just daft.
He's a grump today. 4 on the missed